All right, guys, we're in the shop. I got a brand new Dosatron low pressure panel here. I'm going to do a little walkthrough on how you would set this up in your wash after you received it from Kleen-Rite. This is a great way to add more functions to your meter dial and get all those low pressure, high foaming, or low foaming products out to your customers. So I have this propped up here on the table here in the shop, but this would be hung on the wall in your car wash location. After you choose that spot, we have 4 mounting holes, two on each side of the panel. After that, we have a couple things to hook up, and then we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. So after it's hooked up on the wall, here on the bottom, we have our city water inlet. That's a 3/4 inch hose barb. We do recommend that you put a hose clamp on that hose once it's over top of the barb to prevent it from popping off at any time while everything is running. On this side, we have a 1/4 inch air line connection. We're gonna connect our air compressor to that. That's gonna go in through the dryer and right up to the regulator that then feeds our air manifold. That air manifold is 1/4 inch out. The product manifold is 3/8 out. So we're gonna need to run a 3/8 polytube line and a 1/4 inch polytube line to each bay to get this product out to the customer. I do urge that you merge those things on above the bay, not in your equipment room. But if it's your only option to merge it in the equipment room, that'll work as well. We just get a little better show if you merge it above the bay. Up top is our terminal strip. This is a 4-bay unit. You can see here we have a terminal decal labeled B1, B2, B3, and B4. That stands for Bay 1 through Bay 4. That's just a little nomenclature so that you know the first 2 terminals up top is for Bay 1. To install your wires to Bay 1, we're gonna flip the 2 orange levers down, insert our wires into the terminal holes up top. Red is gonna be your positive from the bay. White is gonna be your neutral from the bay. Once those wires are inserted down into the terminal, flipping them back down will lock the wires in place and not let them come out. The next step is to install the chemical draw tube to the Dosatron itself. It comes in this nice little pack. I already have it out. Here I have a screened weighted foot valve. That's gonna get attached to one end of this draw tube. The other end of the draw tube is gonna get connected to the bottom of the Dosatron. So here at the bottom where you see this red cap, this bottom piece spins off and it's actually a little keeper shroud for the draw tube itself. We're gonna slide the draw tube through that shroud, insert it onto the small barb here, and make sure you have that all the way up against those threads, and then we're gonna spin that shroud back on, and that's actually gonna lock that tube down to that fitting. We're gonna take the other end, that weighted foot valve end, and that is gonna go into the chemical that we're using on this board. Above that, you're gonna see a ring that has an unlock with an arrow and a lock with an arrow. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna set the dilution ratio for the chemical that we're using. Based on the chemical that you're using, you can see that I'm going to unlock the metering stem that is right here, and I'm gonna be able to look at the percentage of the chemical to water ratio that I need to use for the chemical that I am supplying. So once I have that set to the value that I need or the dilution that I need, I'm gonna come back down and I need to lock that back up. It is important that you lock that down every time you make a dilution change. So unlock and lock every time you make that dilution change. Okay, now it's time to set up that brand new function in the bay. Go to the furthest bay away from the equipment room and start that bay on this brand new Dosatron panel. Once that function is turned on in that bay, let's return to the equipment room. We're gonna adjust this Kleen-Rite regulator. This is our water pressure regulator. I would say to start at 40 PSI. On the end of the regulator, there is a flat brass screw. Righty-tighty is going to give you more pressure. Lefty-loosey is less pressure. We want to drive that regulator to achieve 40 PSI being supplied to the Dosatron. As soon as we do that, we want to step over to our air regulator and set that to 35. We're going to pop that regulator top out, spin it. Left is less, right is more. Get this set to 35 pounds and we should be good to go. Pop that back in place. By this time, we should see the chemical coming up the draw tube, starting to fill the Dosatron up, and you'll be able to visually see that making its way into the manifold and then out to your bay. At this point, we want to get out to the bay, see what that chemical display looks like, and decide if we need to make any changes. If you need to make a dilution change, maybe you want to run a little bit more product or a little less air depending on the show out in the bay. You can determine those factors once you get to see that. If you guys have any more questions about Dosatrons, low pressure systems, or what you can add to the rotary dial in your bays, give us a call at Kleen-Rite and we'll get you fixed up.
Kleen-Rite.